My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. It is that thing we do not talk about, that in the deepest corner and the recesses of our mind and our soul and our being comes forth within our own passion to tell story. For there is no good without evil. It's the darkness that is the most fascinating aspect of what we do. It has the most depth. It has the most reach. It incorporates the most forethought. So here, this season on 21 Grams, we examine the part of the soul that we often try to bury or not talk about. They say that 21 grams is the weight of the soul. But what is the weight of sitting in darkness? This is what we aim to discover this season. Welcome to 21 Grams with your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 21 Grams. We're back, season 6. Can't believe I've done 6 seasons of this show, but that's great. And of course, it would not be a 21 gram season without the one person who's been on every single season since we started this thing, the one and only Mr. Bobby Nash. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I feel like I'm what's the guy, the guy that did all the animals. It was always on all the talk shows.
Oh, Jack Hanna or whatever?
I feel like Jack Hanna. I'm like the Jack Hanna of 21 grams. So.
Or the Don Rickles.
Or the Don Rickles, yes. I'm the Don Rickles of 21 grams.
Which is kind of funny because, neither of those really are villainous in their respect. Well, I mean, it depends on who Don Rickles was making fun of, right?
Yeah. I think Rickles missed out. I think Rickles would have made like an excellent Batman villain.
Totally. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I think, he might have been worried about typecasting. He might have been offered that. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. And for those of you who don't know Mr. Bobby Nash, well, first off, shame on you because, I mean, he's the guy to know in this business and in this world. But tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Bobby, if you don't mind.
Sure. I'm a writer. I write novels, comics, this and that and the other. I think I've attempted every kind of medium at one point or another. I do a lot of different genres. So I write a lot of crime fiction, but I also do sci-fi, fantasy, horror, et cetera, et cetera. I do novels, comics. Yeah, that's me.
You've acted in a few things too.
I have done a little acting. Yeah. It's weird. I was telling somebody I was at an event the other day and they picked up my business card and said, "Oh, actor." And I'm like, "Yep, I was doing so much I put it on my business card and then it stopped after I put it on my business card."
Well, I mean, to be fair, it probably stopped for a lot of people. The pandemic killed a lot of that, and then the strike killed a lot more of that. So
yeah. Well, and I live in Georgia, and a lot of the stuff that was filming in Georgia is now moved on. So yeah, I still do a little here and there. It's fun, but yeah, not as much as I used to do.
Have you ever done anything for Tyler Perry?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
The closest thing I got, I was a seat filler at a game show that was filmed at one of his studios.
Okay.
So yes.
So you've been to the compound then.
I've been, yes. Yes, it's an old military base that they repurposed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting experience. So. Not the actual filming of the game show because that was kind of boring. Yeah, but I was just, but
yeah, I understood what you meant. Yeah. Hello, Anita. Nice to see you, and hello to everybody out there who's watching. It's kind of funny because in terms of your own writing and everything, there is definitely a line for you that I think is very interesting that we are going to have this conversation today because you come from like an old school version of storytelling in a lot of respects. A lot of the comics do the same thing too, in terms of good guys and bad guys being really well defined and really having lines. Uh, for
Yeah.
you, you feel like that's true, or do you feel like you're getting more as you write more, and is it becoming more gray for you?
Yeah, I think at the start, yes, there's a lot of good guy, bad guy.
Hmm.
But there are moments where the good guy can do something that's bad, or the bad guy can do something that's good.
Hmm.
And those, and I think because when, like when my Sheriff Myers, when he does something that's morally gray, it stands out because he isn't that way all the time.
Hmm.
It's, so it would be different if I was writing, say, a villainous character as the main character,
Hmm.
or morally gray. I mean, I love things like the shows where characters are like that. Like if you watch Deadwood, or like Sons of Anarchy is a great
Uh-huh.
example, or The Sopranos. It's about bad people,
Yeah.
or people. It's about people who do bad things. That's probably the best way to put it, because they're not always bad. Tony Soprano still loved his mother.
Yeah.
They still would sometimes see someone in trouble and help them.
Yeah.
They weren't 100% bad. And so for
Ye-
the conversion, the same way. Your heroes are not always 100% good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody could be Steve Rogers, right?
Right. And yeah, and writing bad guys is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so yeah, so yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of, probably based on just how I grew up and what I read growing up, a lot of mine does tend to fall upon, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, and then you see where they go.
And to be fair, and I didn't mean to put you in a corner, but to be fair, too, a lot of what you write is mystery and thrillers.
Mhm.
So the bad guy hasn't always revealed himself right away
Right.
in a lot of respects too, right? And sometimes the bad guy's staring you right in the face.
Right.
If you're a good guy.
Yeah, because a lot of times I'll do that. I will, I will refer. We will see the bad guy doing stuff,
Hmm.
like in Evil Ways, my first novel. I referred to him as the killer. We
Hmm.
saw the killer do this. We saw the killer do that. Now we met the killer, but you didn't know it was the killer. So
Right.
that when it's revealed who it is, then it's, hopefully,
Yeah.
if I did my job right and the clues are there,
Yeah.
the reader goes, "Oh, that's what that meant." But yeah, so I do that occasionally. I will refer to, when we spend time with the villain,
Mhm.
they will have a nickname or something. So I don't tell you immediately who they are, so the reader can try to figure it out along with it.
And also, kind of along the lines of an Ian Fleming aspect with Snow, you tend to write scenes that include bad guys, but those bad guys don't necessarily end up being the main focus of Snow's attention at the end of the novel.
That's true. Yes, yes. And sometimes the villains change,
Mm-hmm.
like I intended when I started Snow, there was an intention that this guy is the villain, and
Mm-hmm.
he is going to be the villain for multiple books. And then, spoiler alert, I kill him in book 3. Off panel, like we just find him dead. And then, but it wasn't a but it wasn't a planned thing. It was one of those things where trusting your characters is very big for me.
Yeah.
Trust the characters. And that character told me it's time for me to die. And what happened was, another character who I had not intended to be as important stepped in to that role
Mm.
and became a better villain than my original plan.
Mm.
But it all came out of the characters telling me what they would do. So this one character I didn't realize was the big villain
Yeah.
turned out to be a better villain, but I only got that by trusting that character.
Do you find like the more the evil they are, or the more sinister they are, or more darkness they have, the more sloppy they are in terms of how they present themselves to you? Or is it the opposite?
Sometimes, I mean, they're the hardest ones to get to know and
Mhm.
understand. And the characters that are more evil tend to also have other traits. They tend to be more arrogant. They tend to be more stubborn. They tend to not listen, which is usually what becomes their downfall.
Yeah.
They get tunnel vision, and or they focus on something to the detriment of everything else around them. And so the villain, a lot of times, like I've got villains that only lose because they did something stupid.
Yeah.
Like there was one novel I wrote where I was like, at one point, I'm like, I have no idea how to stop this guy. I have no idea how to catch this guy. But as I'm writing it, he fixated on something, which led to his being found out and captured, and blah blah blah. So yeah, the characters will get you there, but and there's different forms of villain. I mean, yes, we've got the old mustache twirlers, and those guys are so over the top, like a Bond villain. They're so over the top that you write them a little differently than you do somebody who's just doing bad stuff.
Do you find their ambitions are a lot more grandiose, like world domination and those ideas?
Oh yeah. It's like I couldn't imagine Cobra Commander, from GI Joe trying to do anything simple.
Right. Yeah.
It's not, oh, we're going to take over this business. No, we're taking over the world. So they tend to be more bombastic and more over the top and full of life and full of, they yell a lot and gesture a lot and all these things. And whereas some of your less grandiose villains might be quiet, the Kingpin's a good example. To the world at large, the Kingpin is not a villain, but we know he's a villain. He's more on that other end because he's hiding it. He's doing it in the shadows. He's thinking out what he's doing. And so those are fun to play too. And so sometimes, and like I write that, especially in my series stuff, like with Sheriff Myers, there are characters who are not out and out villains, but they are doing bad stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And
they have a moral indignation or something to that effect, where they believe what they're doing is for the greater good, kind of idea.
Yeah. It's like, and sometimes they're not the main villain of that thing, but you've got characters who appear are regulars who are doing bad stuff, that they may be a villain down the road, but they could just be a pain in the butt now.
Yeah.
It's so there's different levels of villainy. Not every villain leads to someone getting hurt or dying or anything like that. Sometimes villainy can take a smaller, it's just you're threatening someone's job or their livelihood, or you're just taking food out of someone's mouth, or that kind of stuff. Or you're, because I'm not a big fan of politics, but like doing Sheriff Meyer stuff, because it's in a small town politics, you can't ignore that when you're writing about people who are in small town politics.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's stuff happening that's not, it's not on the up and up. It's, people are doing, people are, they're trying to make things work for them, or they're trying to take something from these people, or get, so those are interesting to play with too. But those are not always, it might be someone you like, but then you find out they're doing this thing on the side that's kind of reprehensible, but you still kind of like them, which as a writer is fun to play, because now if your readers get a little conflicted, you've done your job creating that character, because, sometimes a character you love will do one thing one time that's makes you go, ooh, but it's, so yeah, so there's a lot of examples of that too, of like good guy characters who one time will do one thing but then they go back to being the good guy after that. There's usually a situational reason for the bad thing. They're not bad people. They just, you got pushed that one little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned The Sopranos, and I was thinking about this interview that James Gandolfini did once, where he talked about his whole plan with Tony Soprano was not for you to like him or love him. It was for you to love all the people that he hurt all the
Mhm.
time, because that was he was the conduit to empathy for all the other evil folks that because he was supposed to be the pillar of evil in that
Mhm.
respect. So
But
I
he's
found that
also
very
yeah,
fascinating.
but he's also someone that sometimes you can empathize
Yeah,
because while he's doing all that stuff, he still has this problem with his daughter.
yeah,
And so if you've got, oh, you feel for him. Or
right.
a really great example from books and TV is the character of Boyd Crowder from Justified.
Mm,
Because certainly he's in the show more than he's in the books
right.
because he dies really quick in that one story. And, but spoiler alert, he was supposed to die in the pilot too, but
Yeah,
they liked the actor so much. But there are moments where you're yes, Boyd is the bad guy, but
yeah,
there are moments I'm rooting for him to win
yeah,
because you've come to like that guy.
yeah,
And if we can make you love a villain, not just for the villainy, but love them and wish they could win,
yeah.
then we've really done our jobs.
Yeah, it's the Jesse Pinkman story. I mean, Vince Gillian talked about how he was going to kill Jesse in like episode 3
Mhm.
because because of the character and the actor and all of that, and how the
Yeah.
audience gravitated to him more than they gravitated toward Walt. Then that was the catalyst for them to be able to take Walt to the darkest depths and kind of let everybody empathize with Jesse in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was justified. Boyd dies.
Mhm.
Like if you watch the episode, he shoots him in the heart.
Right. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
dies. But cause when you watch the commentary, they were like, when we were filming the second episode, we filmed a little extra that said, "Oh yeah, he's alive." We showed him being put in the ambulance, and so
Yeah.
that's why he kind of disappears for the first few episodes
Yeah.
because he wasn't originally supposed to be there. But I can't imagine that show now without the dynamics of those two characters,
Yeah.
being opposite each other. So just it's one of those things, but that comes again from trusting the character.
Yeah.
Boyd was too good to die that way. And they listened to him.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, when your characters talk to you, because your characters become real to you.
Yeah.
They're not characters; they're people.
Yeah.
I understand them. I hear them. I get to know them as people, and so they will. Yes, they will. They have a voice, and sometimes that voice is just made up. Sometimes it's the voice of someone I know.
Yeah.
Like if I created somebody, like they might have your voice. So when I hear that character talk, I hear it with your voice.
Mm.
That gives you a bit of realism that makes them more fully rounded. And they will then go, because people laugh at me when I do these on panels, and I'm like, my characters are smarter than me. They will tell me, do I look stupid enough to do that?
Right.
I am not doing what you're trying to make me do.
Yeah.
And so that helps build the foundation of the character. And
Mm.
I get some really interesting character bits. Like there is one of the Sheriff Meyer books where he does something at the end where he spoiler alert again, he does let the bad guy of that story get away. He lets them go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for it. But if you look at it, clinically, yes, he broke the law by letting that person go.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things like that, but there's a reason for it, and it all comes out of characters. So yeah, so any of those characters we talked about, there's those character bits that
Mm-hmm.
make us love the villain.
Yeah.
It also explains why they do villainous things
Yes.
because villains don't think they're villains. Well,
Yeah.
the mustache twirlers kind of know, but like Boyd, to stick with the Justified reference, Boyd, if this story was told from a different perspective, Boyd is the hero of his story.
Mhm. Yeah.
And he is the hero of that. Walt is the hero of his story in Breaking
Yeah.
Bad. though, yes, they're breaking the law, but they're the hero of their particular thing they're trying to do.
However, with Walt, there's a defining line where he becomes Heisenberg, and then
Yeah.
he never turns back. And that I personally believe it's the moment when he tells Skylar, "Who do you think you're talking to right now?
Mhm.
Who do you think you see?" That moment right there, I think he
Yeah.
never goes back after that, and he
Mhm.
embraces being as evil as possible.
Plus,
And the
now
more
she
evil
knows.
yeah,
So he doesn't have to hide it from her
you're
anymore.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that point, Hank also, I believe, knew or is about to know.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But Anita says, "Yeah, Boyd is a complex villain, and I'm glad they kept him around."
Same here. I love that. Love that show. Love that character.
I'm curious too for you as somebody who has to listen to these voices and hear these characters. Uh, do you have a hard time reconciling with some of them when they are talking about the evil things they're doing?
Sometimes, I mean, some of it does stick with you. You'll
Mm-hmm.
find yourself having stray thoughts
Mm-hmm.
that you realize are it's still because I'm in that headspace of the story I'm telling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do things to try to get that out of my head. I mean, because I kill a lot of people in
Mm-hmm.
books.
Yeah.
I commit a lot of crimes in books. I'm writing some very dark things sometimes.
Yeah.
And so part of it is you find something to kind of get that out of your head. For me, you know, after I eat dinner at night, I draw. I
Mm-hmm.
do you guys have probably seen the bookmarks I post pictures of or whatever. That kind of helps clear it. Um, I go from thinking about murder and death and mayhem, and I think about cutesy cartoon characters. So it kind of gets that out of my head, and then just reminds them, hey, take a break. We'll go back to killing tomorrow, uh, tonight. That way I don't dream about it.
Yeah.
I don't, because I can't stop writing and go to bed. Like I can't just go from one to the other because I will dream it. I will
Yeah.
dream about it, and I don't like dreaming about killing
You're
murder,
right.
and
Yeah, sure.
it's not fun. But and also, I mean, and coming up with the world is a very brutal place, so
Mhm.
there's a lot of that stuff there, anyways, and certainly at this particular era in time. Uh, we have a word for it called doom scrolling. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
bad that there's a word for it.
Yeah.
So you're inundated with crap.
Yeah.
Um, you're inundated with people doing like real people doing evil things. And sometimes I look at my characters and go, you might not be evil enough.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
I was going to get to today versus back then, but I I am curious to stay on the path we were just talking about a little bit in terms of you mentioned that they have they have their own thoughts about them not being evil, and sometimes they do things that you know color them good on certain aspects, or we gravitate toward characters that we like because they're likable
mhm.
people, but they do bad things kind of idea. Is that harder to reconcile for you, or do you find how do you find that sweet spot for those characters? Because if you're in that dark space, you kind of always try to stray toward darkness, right? But if you
Yeah.
can, but if finding that empathy for that character, is it something that they present to you, or how do you find it for when you're writing it?
Yeah, it usually comes out of the character. I mean,
Mhm.
certainly in the early stages of building a character, you're deciding things.
Mhm.
A lot of these kind of traits come out in the telling of it.
Yeah.
But you can also, I mean, you can have people that are generally good who have one bad day,
Mhm.
or um, someone who decides to hit someone.
Mhm.
You know, it got to, and then they're all apologetic and they're all, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not me on there.
Mhm.
Those are, you have to play both sides of that. And like I said, sometimes it does get in your head and you have to kind of, you know, send the characters to their room and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, close the door.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Draw
so,
some bunnies.
yeah. So, but it's, you know, I've never really had, they've never like affected me so much that I've gone out and snapped at people or,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, if you're in a bad mood, going and writing those guys is easier. You know, I can put my bad mood on that character
Yeah.
and sometimes work it out, you know, work out my bad mood through them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just, you know, and you just have to remind yourself that you are writing fiction.
Yeah.
Now, not to say you can't have a message in your fiction.
Right.
You know, certainly I'm going to say if someone's beaten their children, they're a bad guy. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You know,
Right.
you're a piece of crap. You know, this is going to be dealt with. But I can do that through the other characters too.
Yeah.
This character is discussed with seeing what that character does is more powerful than me going, they're a bad guy. No,
Yeah.
let the other characters talk about how they're a bad guy and that kind of thing. And then you can play all of that up and, you know, and hope your readers understand that just because I write a bad guy doing a bad thing doesn't mean I'm condoning that bad thing. Because I have had that conversation with people before.
Sure, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to show it because it's so evil. You don't want to show it.
Right.
You want to imply it so that
and there are certain things that just on a personal level, I'm not writing that.
Yeah.
We may see the aftermath of it, but I'm not writing these type of scenes. Just because I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things that, you know, so and also you can show villainous thing, you can write villainous things in a way that gets you part of the way there, but you write it in a way where your readers fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, if you're talking about a murder and you're writing a murder, I don't have to write all of the gory details.
No,
most everybody that's reading this has seen a movie where somebody's been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you enough to get you going and you start filling in, which generally makes it even worse than anything I could write.
Right.
So you can kind of let the audience help define the severity of the bad thing they're doing.
It helps when you're writing police procedurals because you can describe, like you could have them looking over the body and describing how the body gets maimed or destroyed sometimes too.
Right. Yeah, especially if it's, you know, because we don't need to graphically see certain things happen.
Yeah.
But we can then say, we can talk about it after.
Mm-hmm.
Also, doing it that way gives you the reaction of the people who have found the body or found the victim. Their reaction will tell you how horrifying it is without going into detail of how horrifying it is. That character responds in a certain way, and because, you know, it has visibly shaken them.
Yeah.
You know, now you as the reader are, ooh, it must be, and you're filling in those blanks. So yeah, it's a fine line to walk. Like I said, I'm not afraid of writing people getting killed, but I just don't need to go. And the other side of it's true too. I don't do sex scenes blow by blow.
Right.
You play by play. It's, you know, I kind of do the equivalent of the old movies where it's like, okay, and then we're gonna go look over here at the candle on the wall, and you know, I don't need to write those scenes. I write the start of it, I write the end of it. You know, I don't have to give you a play by play of the sex scene, just like I don't have to give you a play by play of the murder.
I'm
not
curious.
Not to say that sometimes it's not necessary, but when it is, you do it, but it's not always necessary.
I'm curious too, when you're writing a real dark character, are you sometimes searching for the empathy? Are you trying to find the empathy? Are you trying to talk to them about where they might be empathetic? Or do you just kind of write it out and then hope that comes about at some point?
I always look for something. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you find it when you're going, or you have an idea, but it doesn't work but then you find
Mm-hmm.
something else while you're writing it. I have something that's coming up. Um, like the novella series, like the Sheriff Myers and Snow, I have them plotted, loosely plotted out. And
Sure.
there's one where we are going to focus on a bad person who did bad things, but after he had grandchildren, he backed off. He became a knight,
Mm.
but that stuff is still in his background. And
Sure.
so what happens when that past catches up to him?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we meet him, he's not that bad guy.
Mm.
But then we find out all the stuff that he did when he was younger and all this stuff that's coming back. I'm hoping that will play well because you'll already like this guy. He's going to seem like a kind old grandfatherly type.
Mm.
And then you find out he used to be this really awful, horrible person that
Mm.
did really, truly horrible things and got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then the plan is I want the reader to kind of feel conflicted because we like this guy, but oh my god, this guy was a piece of crap when he was younger. How do you feel? What does the reader feel about that? And so I've been playing with that. So I've been working on, because that's not the next book.
Yeah.
It's a couple books down. So I've been slowly like pulling bits and pieces and making notes, and because I'm working that far ahead on it,
Mm-hmm.
I can like do it and let it sit in my head and go, oh, that
Mm.
works. Okay. Then we can do it this way. We can do it that way.
Mm.
But yeah,
Kind of
it's,
workshop it.
yeah. And I get to know the character. I get
Mm-hmm.
to talk to the character. The character can explain to me why he did these things,
Mm-hmm.
or even more important, why he gave it up. It wasn't just that he had grandchildren, other things, kind of what kind of world, he realizes how he treated people. And he's like, well, I can't let somebody do that to my grandchildren. you know I've got to have a better world for them, that kind of stuff. So there's different things about the character, but still that capacity to be that bad guy is still in him. And when something happens that draws that out of him again, we see that he's always been capable of it. He never stopped having the capacity to be this truly violent, horrible person, but he chose to set it aside. And then now he's chosen to let it out again. And there's a lot of allegories to that. Like I have in my notes, I wrote like, it's very similar to like someone who has a substance abuse problem.
Mm-hmm.
You stopped, you got in recovery, you let it go. You may live 20 years, never take a drink, never touch a thing, but one little thing could
Mm-hmm.
spiral you back into that. It's similar, with him. It's not this that substance abuse thing, but he has things that trigger him to
Mm-hmm.
go back into this life that he had walked away from. And so it's fun playing with those things, but you also don't want to be flip about it either.
Right.
You don't want it to just be, because like when
Out of
you're
the
writing,
blue.
yeah, when you're writing a mustache twirling, when you're writing Cobra Commander, yeah, nobody's looking for depth.
Yeah.
They're expecting just a ha, cackling and trying to take over the world. But when you're writing, someone that's a real person in a real setting, who is a low key kind of villain, who is, you need more depth. You want to write some depth to those characters. And it's not always easy. Like I said, it is a juggling act.
So how do you do it with your heroes? How do you give them a darkness edge? Do you tend to write their darkness, if their moments of darkness, when you're writing the villains? Is it because you're in that headspace, or is it a different headspace? How do you kind of reconcile the moments where they're at their weakest?
I generally write more or less linearly when I'm putting a
Okay.
book together.
Mm-hmm.
There are exceptions. Like sometimes if a scene pops, I'll go ahead and write it down
Mm-hmm.
and then later work it in. But for the most part, I write linearly. So a lot of that just happens as it happens, or sometimes it happens in the second pass. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll get up to, you're here in chapter 12 and something happens, or a character reveals something to me.
Mm-hmm.
in the writing, and I go, ooh, that's good. I got to go back and, set
Yeah.
that up, or I got to go plant some clues so that doesn't come out of left field or that kind of thing. So that happens. And sometimes those will do it. Sometimes you go in going, like the one where Sheriff Myers does let the villain go. I knew that was coming from the
Hmm.
kind of early,
Hmm.
because he had a relationship with that person. It's a betrayal when he finds out this person is this.
Hmm.
But then there's that's still my friend, and that's still, and there's a reason, it's not just like, oh, you can get away with it. There is other stuff. It's like, no, you've got to do this. I'm not going to bust you, but here's what you got to do to make this right. And so it allows the character. So I knew that going in. That was kind of I wanted to get there. So
Yeah.
I knew that up going in. But other times it happens in the moments where characters will say or do something that it's just, woo, I don't know where that came from, but I love it. Or, yes, Snow's pissed off, so
Yeah.
this happened. That kind of thing. And there's precedent for it. I mean, I've read books where that happens,
Sure.
Um, I keep going back to TV because I figure more people have seen more TV shows than books I've read. But like, there's a great example, and since we're talking about Snow, because Snow is very much based on
Hmm.
those type of TV shows, detective and whatnot. There is an episode of Magnum PI and Magnum's a good guy, right? I
Hmm.
don't think anybody ever looks at Magnum and thinks of him as a bad guy. There's this one episode where it flashes back to when they were in Vietnam and they were captured, and TC was brainwashed. He became a sleeper agent. And now, all these years later, the bad guy has come back and is using TC to assassinate someone. And at the end of the episode, the bad guy, because he was a foreign agent, they can't do anything to him except tell him, I think they say they list him as undesirable and tell him he has to leave the country. And so Magnum and Rick uh, stop the guy's car on the way. Rick is having car trouble. Magnum takes the guy out. They walks him into and the guy is even going like, I'm not armed. You could kill me if I had a weapon, but I know you. You're not. You're the good guy and all this. And Magnum totally up and murders him. And they don't show this, but once he did that, Rick had to kill the driver. So these guys commit cold-blooded murder. It's never mentioned again.
Hmm.
And the next episode, we're right back to them being the cool guys that,
Yeah.
but in the moment of that episode, it felt earned.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of character. They had built it up enough that he earned it.
Yeah.
And so those type of things. And so if I'm going to write those type of things myself, I want to earn it. It can't be this thing that comes out of nowhere. It has to make some kind of sense. It has to feel earned for the character. And sometimes the character may then later, we may go 3 or 4 more books before it comes up again. But
Mm.
it's always in their head, because when you do stuff that you shouldn't have done, it runs in our brain, or at least mine. My guilty conscience. Things run in my brain. Oh, I
There's
shouldn't
a
have done that, or
there's another great example in the West Wing. They have to assassinate a terrorist cell who is connected to the royal family, and they decide to take him out illegally.
Mm-hmm.
They make the decision, and it comes to haunt them, but it doesn't come to haunt them right away. It
Right.
comes to haunt them down like 3 or 4 episodes later, which I really found Sorkin really tapped into something very interesting with doing it that way, because it's something that we recognize, but you have to be a fan of the original moment to know what they were going through, because it doesn't come back up again for a while, and when it comes back up,
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't see it, you wouldn't understand why it's so
Yeah.
poignant and interesting.
It's been bubbling under the surface.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, it causes
and
all kinds of different way for all the characters to go different directions and
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
lose their way a little bit.
Yeah,
And
and that's that. Oh, and talk about brilliant writers. Sorkin is
yeah,
just absolutely
yeah,
amazing at those,
yeah,
especially those character moments.
yeah,
And that's where I try to do a lot of that. Is it's character bits more so than the plot requires this.
yeah.
I want to get to know the characters. I want the characters to do that. And so the villainy kind of comes in a lot of times. Why is this character doing that? Is it because are they doing it because it needs to be done? Are they
Yeah.
doing it because they're just callously cruel? Or do they fret over decisions? You know? And
Is
so
there
I
lines though for like the good guys? Do you find that you have to draw lines a little bit because you want them to stay kind of on the right side of things and not go completely 180 or 360 down the path of darkness?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want, Snow to become like a one, he's not the Punisher. I don't want him going out and killing people
Yeah,
right and left.
right. Yeah.
But if he has to, then there needs to be a story reason for it, or a
Right.
personal reason, or um,
A lot of
and
times with Snow, it's mostly military based. Like
right,
he's trained, you
yeah,
know.
there's usually people shooting at him, and
Yeah,
he's shooting back.
right.
But yeah, but
Or
there are
there's bureaucracy that doesn't allow him to do what he really wants to do, and he just
right,
decides to do it.
yeah, yeah, and so you don't want you try to make it so these things make sense.
Yeah.
um I it's a weird thing. Someone once told me that, do you realize that somebody dies in everything you've written? I'm like, no, that can't be right. So I go look and I'm like, well, son of a bitch. Um so I purposefully then started letting people live,
Yeah.
because I realized I was falling into a bit of a pattern, you
Uh,
know, and because and it bugs me when I see that in movies. It's like, oh, the solution is we kill the bad guy. That can't always be the solution.
yeah.
So I've purposefully now tried to mix and match it. Sometimes the villain lives, we just catch them. Or
You've come
sometimes,
across the battle royal dilemma.
yes,
And when
they're,
when when
they're
wrestling has a battle royal, they hate writing battle royals because they certain characters have to survive a certain amount of
yeah.
time in the ring, right, before they get thrown over.
Hmm.
Then you have to determine who is important enough to throw that person over. So it becomes this mess, and then they end up with 20 people in the ring that they can't figure out how to get them all out of there at the same
Yeah.
time.
And you still want it to be, you've still got to be, excuse me, you've still got to be entertaining,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you've still got to make it make sense,
Yes.
because you don't want your audience going, why haven't they gotten rid of that guy yet?
Yeah.
Or,
Or why is that guy still there?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Why is this? So yeah, so when you're writing, you think about things like that. You
Yeah.
also, like I said, there's certain lines I don't want them to cross, or sometimes there have been a couple of cases where I've let the villain escape.
Because they won't cross the line.
Right. And it could be where maybe we'll meet them down the road again.
Mm.
I do like the idea sometimes of a character coming back.
That's the Saving Private Ryan moment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't kill the guy ends up killing, his captain.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's like, or what are we willing to do to get this to happen?
Right.
Like in Saving Private Ryan, they were willing to die to save this one guy.
Yeah.
In another show, it might be we're willing to kill a bunch of people to save
Yeah.
this guy. And so the character motivations help with all that. What kind of what is your how, because in real life, none of us are completely good or evil.
Right.
Um, I,
We all have bad days too.
we all have bad days. We all have situations.
Hmm.
You know, you put the you put the best person in a horrible situation, and sometimes they will do horrible things just to get out of the situation.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to character. There's a great writing exercise that says if you write like a really simple plot, just a very simple plot, but you drop three different characters into that plot that you know well, that are all uniquely different characters, you will get three different stories,
Mm.
because this character will approach the story this way, will
Yeah.
approach the plot this way, because that's that character. Snow and Sheriff Myers would not approach the same problem the same way.
No.
You would get two very different stories
Yeah.
because, yes, they would hit the plot and then one would go right, one would go left.
Yeah.
And
Not only
so,
that, but they wouldn't come to the same conclusions either.
no, absolutely. Not nor the same, the same, how do we solve the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we
Yeah.
shoot them? Do we try to, I mean, there's a lot of, so knowing your characters really informs the plot going forward, informs what's going on. Uh, you know, we've seen plots in books and movies, if a loved one or a friend dies,
Mhm.
that will sometimes push a hero over the edge.
Mhm.
Revenge is a very powerful thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes, you know, uh, the, a villain meets the girl of his dreams. Now he softens a little bit
Mhm.
because she has had this effect on him, or he has had an effect on her. What
Mhm.
vice versa, whatever. You can do these things because none of us are one thing.
Right.
Yes, you can be a good guy. You can be nice. You can be pleasant. You have a bad day. You snap at somebody. You're not a villain, but you've had a bad day. That sort of thing. So, I mean, hell, that's the whole impetus of the Joker. He had a bad day,
Yeah.
and look what happened.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of stuff, and there's degrees of bad day. I
Yeah.
wake up in a bad mood. That's not enough to make me do something villainous.
Right. Of course.
I wake up, my house is on fire. Somebody stole my car and shot my dad. you know,
Yeah, that
it's
changes
a
it.
bit different.
Yeah.
Then you start seeing, you start having those murderous thoughts about the guy that just, so there's different degrees of it. And so playing up those things, how
Mm.
would these characters react to this news that you've given them? And there are cases where your hero can go off the deep end. If
Yeah.
somebody, again, someone kills a loved one,
Yeah.
then it becomes a revenge thing. Okay, at that point, do you become the villain or are you the hero? Oh, I forget the name of it. Oh, there's a movie I saw not too long ago. I think it's called The Foreigner. It's got Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan in it.
Okay.
It starts out with uh, they switch places. Like it starts out with something happened. Like Jackie Chan's character is trying to kill Pierce Brosnan's character. Halfway through the movie, so we feel that he's the bad guy, right? Jackie Chan's the bad guy. Pierce Brosnan's the good guy. About halfway through the movie, we realize he's after him because Pierce Brosnan's character killed his son, and he is a bad guy. Now we start looking at Jackie Chan's character as the hero of the story, and it switches about halfway through the movie. And I just thought that was brilliant because, and plus, when you've got two stars who are both known for being the good guy,
You're right.
they now get to switch places. They get to be
Yeah.
both the good guy and the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so it's a very well done movie in that regard. But it's also one of those things too. It's like, the Jackie Chan's character, apparently he was such a good guy, but then this thing that happened to, I believe his daughter died, I think is what it was, something like that, made him go, and the authorities wouldn't do anything
Mm.
to the guy because he was connected. And
Mhm.
so he takes the law into his own hands, thus making him quote unquote the villain,
Yeah.
because he is now become a vigilante trying to murder someone. But we feel for him once we find out that, oh, this guy is not a good guy either. He's not trying to kill a good guy. He's after a bad guy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
There's two examples, one of which Anita's put in the chat, and then
Yep.
of a hero who becomes, who's doing villainous things, but because they were provoked to do villainous things in John Wick.
Yep.
John Wick had a bad day. Look what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an opposite example though. Train to Busan is a story about villains who get stuck on a train with zombies, and they become the heroes to try and keep the people safe from the zombies, kind of idea. So
Yeah. And
you can
sometimes
do it both ways. So.
you can, using the TV show examples again, You could do things like The Shield or Sons
Hmm.
of Anarchy. These are not good people,
None of them
but
are. Yeah.
but they have moments where worse people are coming to mess with their town. Now they're trying to protect their town.
Yeah.
Now they're the good guys in this particular story. They're
Yeah.
still not good people, but they're the good guys in this particular story. So it gives you like your example there with the Train of Sun. These are bad guys, but
Yeah.
we're rooting for them because they're up against something worse.
Yeah, the thing about Vic Mackey though is every time he wanted to root for him, he did something very
Yeah,
worse that made him not
yeah.
root for him anymore, which
I
is the
I,
interesting.
I think one of the smartest things that show did, because Vic is just
Yeah,
deplorably evil. But there's a
he's evil
season,
from the moment that we first meet him.
yes, the
Yeah.
season that Glenn Close was on,
Ugh.
and she came in as the boss.
Yeah.
He tried, and all of the strikes, they tried to go legit and go straight for that season.
Yeah.
And for a few minutes, I mean, a few episodes, they're doing it. They're actually on the straight and narrow.
It was all ruse.
Yeah, until, yeah. But you give them credit for trying,
Right.
you know,
Well, I mean, obviously, I think there's also that in Breaking Bad where Walter finally gets himself loose of everything and decides to go straight for a little bit,
mhm,
and he can't do it. He can't hold on to it, right? It's not in his nature anymore, and that's
yeah,
kind of the same thing with Vic Mackey. Vic can't help it. He's got to do something bad, otherwise he feels icky inside.
yeah.
It's like you said, you got to know your character, right? And so,
Yeah. And then, another example that I love is there's a show called Leverage that I love, which
mm,
is all about villains who become heroes.
yeah.
And but it's not a okay, we're good guys. It's a
Right.
slow kind of process.
And they have selfish desires
Right.
too, to,
Right. But
be
then
rich and
then they
yeah,
go out and help people. And
yeah,
so so I yeah, there are tropes that you can play with of letting good guys do bad things and bad guys do good things. And as long
yeah,
as you stay true to the character, I think you can get away with a lot of those things.
yeah.
So,
I think that's the key, right? I think the
yeah.
character is the key. Although the last thing I wanted to talk to you about today is interesting because you do write things that existed in the past, Domino Lady, Pulp
Hmm.
stuff that all have a different rhythm to them, have a whole different ideal to them, where good and evil is more well defined, even in a lot of respects. Even though truly, if you lived in that time period, you would say that is
Right.
false
Yeah.
portrayed,
There was a perception of,
right?
yeah.
But now, I mean, we're living in such a dark state right now
Hmm.
of the world and who we are and where we're at, and you can't help but that's going to seep into what you're writing. You just can't help
Yes.
it,
Yes. It's one of these weird things. I have had this conversation with writer friends that
Hmm.
it's like, if I was to write this true thing I just read,
Yeah.
every publisher I've ever worked for would have laughed me out of their office because that is so freaking unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just you can't write. But now it
Yeah.
a lot of that kind of stuff is true,
Yeah.
and it does. Again, I try to keep politics out of it, but it is the world we live in.
Yeah.
It does seep in there, and
I mean, not
you
even
know
politics, but character wise.
character wise. Well, it's kind of like the Law and Order thing, ripped
Hmm.
from the headlines.
Hmm.
There is a lot to be mined from. Ooh, that's an interesting story in the news.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hate that guy. Ooh, that's a good villain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. And and the weirder that things get in real life, the more audiences are willing to believe the weird stuff I write.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So so
yeah,
so it's helpful that the world is going to shit then, isn't
yeah, the plots are not as outlandish as they used to be. Um, but it's and occasionally, certain things will get, and I will have a character mention something or
it?
allude to something, or I'll have characters comment on something in the world
Yeah.
or comment on something in the book world, but
Yeah.
it's a a nudge,
It's a
nudge,
it's
wink,
a
wink.
it's a
We know
it's a
what we're
it's a
talking about.
mirroring of what's really going on.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's kind of like how sci-fi does
Yeah.
allegory a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I may see something happening on the world stage,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I wanna comment on that, but I don't want to comment on it. So I'm going to take it. How does that work in the community stage where Sheriff Myers lives? How does
Yeah.
that work on a county level? Okay, now I can talk about this guy on the county level doing something similar, and it's not drawing direct correlations. Because we both know, no matter what you write, especially these days, it's almost a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Half the people that read it are going to read it one way, and half the people are going to read it another.
Yeah.
And so,
And you're often surprised about which side they're on.
yes, I have had people go, "Oh, I loved it." It's like, that's not what that's about. um, but yeah, so there are certain people that are going to read we all bring our personal biases
Yeah.
and whatever to it. And so, and I'm just as guilty of it when reading stuff as anybody else.
Yeah.
I remember talking to a writer friend, and I was like, I read your book, and man, this character was awful. And they're like, really? Why? And I'm like, never mind. No, no,
Yeah.
so we all bring things into it. We all have personal, things about, oh, when somebody does that, it just drives me nuts. And but other people, it's like, oh, it's normal.
Yeah.
So again, like everything else, it all boils down to character for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the state of the world make it harder for you to get out of the darkness sometimes?
Sometimes, especially because with doing a lot of crime and mystery stuff,
Yeah.
a lot of my characters are there's a sheriff. I've
Yeah.
got a U.S. Marshal character. I've got an FBI agent. I've got a homicide detective. There was a bit, and I do touch on it. But there was a moment. It's like, how do I feel about writing law enforcement when law enforcement is not living up to the ideal of what law enforcement should be?
Mm.
We were seeing stuff on the news of law enforcement. Well, even today, we still see law enforcement doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
They have been, in some cases, they have become the villains of the story
Yeah.
because they're doing things a certain way
Yeah.
that, so I do have to think about things like that, where it's like, okay, right now law enforcement is not well loved. They're doing things. So I actually did put a bit, because we have a new deputy in the Sheriff Myers. I did have a bit where he was doing some stuff, and the sheriff sets him down and has a chat with him. And I used real experiences of things that did happen locally over the years.
Mm.
In that, I mean, I tweaked them a little, but I used real world examples of, that's not what you want to be. Where he was telling stories about other, deputies in the area in the past, and things that they had done and having to deal with it. And I use that as a way to go, this is not how we should be doing it.
Mm.
We should be better than this. We should not be doing these type of things that make us look like the villains. I think I can put it in there where he's like, your job is to protect, to help, to serve, to keep the community safe.
Yeah.
Do you want everybody to see you go, oh God, it's the cops?
Yeah.
That makes your job harder.
Yeah.
You need to act a certain way. You don't need to. Yes, you don't need to make citizens of this county afraid of you.
Mm.
So I talk about things like that.
Yeah.
And so I can use those on that smaller stage to talk about things that I see in a bigger stage. So yeah, so there's a lot of, I don't know if that answered the question or not.
No,
Sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, so stuff like that, I can touch on things,
Yeah.
but rarely has it been the focus. Like I haven't written anything where it's like, oh, this is, we're gonna set this in this real world thing. Not
Yeah.
to say I won't, but so far I haven't really had an inspiration to do that hit me. Not to say it wouldn't. I have done it for other publishers at their request, but in the past, like when I did those books for the educational publisher for the kids books, there were crime stories, but they were set during real historical moments. And so I used the real things that were going on. One of them was the New York blackout of 1977. And so as the riots are starting, I have this one officer who is feeling a little outnumbered. Nothing bad has started yet, but he actually, instead of just, people won't listen to him. And so he just pulls out the billy club and starts swinging because that really happened. The research showed that actually happened. So I wrote it, but that's also through the lens of that happened 40 some odd years ago.
Right.
It's harder for me to want to do that in stuff today. I don't want to set things during, an ice raid today. Not to say I never will, but right now it's like, maybe in a few years you look back on it and say, but it's weird. I don't know.
The wound's too fresh.
Yeah, well, and it's not like I don't want to ruffle feathers. Right. It's just I don't have the story for that.
Yeah, no.
Partly because it is fresh, it is happening, and I don't want to trivialize it.
Right.
That's another thing.
And it hasn't come to a conclusion either, and having a conclusion helps that.
Right, and as and as a writer, I don't want my readers to go, "Oh, he's trivializing this."
Yeah.
Or he's sensationalizing.
Yeah.
And there are better writers than me that can do it.
Yeah.
And can do it in a way that they're telling a story and it works and it's great, but yeah, I have my opinions and I do my, I can work that in, but I also, trying to be a well-rounded writer, sometimes you have to look at the opinions of the opposite of what you feel. I have characters that I diametrically believe the exact opposite of them, but I have to understand that character. So in my head, I have to try to understand people that think different than I do, that have different philosophies or different, whatever. Not to say that and just because I write that character being that, it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it, but that's that character. And sometimes your readers don't always understand that. Oh, you wrote that, you must believe that.
Yeah.
And so I try to be, it's one of those things I try to be careful of. And I do try to show multiple sides,
Sure.
Along religious lines, party lines. I have characters that are of multiple races. I'm writing men, I'm writing women. Those characters all look at the world differently because they have different experiences.
Sure.
That's where research comes in. That's where talking to people comes in. Talking to people who are I'm not, what do you, how would you handle this? What would be your fear going into this situation?
Yeah.
Because I'm not you, I'm not a woman. I will never understand the fear that women have in certain situations. Yeah. I remember it was an eye opener to me. I years ago, I'll make this short. Years ago, I met my mother after work one day. We went and she had to go to the mall and she didn't want to go by herself. And so I met her at the mall after work and we were both on our way home from our respective jobs. We went. And so, but we ended up parking in different areas. And so she got her stuff and she's like, okay, I'll see you later. She's like, oh, hell no. You are walking me to the car. And that was the first time it hit me that there was a fear that she had of walking. It was still daylight. It never would have occurred to me because I don't have that.
Yeah.
And so talking to people, trying to understand how, and having other writer friends, it's usually easier to go to writer friends first because they understand why you're asking.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, explain to me if you were in this situation, what would be your thoughts? And it's easier to, like I said, it is easier to go to other writers and go, because they know why you're asking.
Right.
Whereas if you just go to someone who is not, they may go, what are you trying to say? What are you doing? But it helps. It helps build that character. It helps understand who that character is, why that character is a certain way. There may be just things, like I said, things that innate fears just because of upbringing.
Yeah.
People that live in the West Coast have different upbringing than the East Coast, North, South. I mean, those things all matter. They impact how you live your life or how you approach situations. And so you try to take all of that into the account when you're researching characters. And people from different countries look at things different ways, and there's all of that. And so in hero and villain, you try to look at them all realistically.
Yeah.
What would this character do?
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you setting the tone for the rest of the season, Bobby.
6 seasons, woohoo!
It's always wonderful having you here, and obviously we can talk forever about it.
Let's go ahead and schedule season 7.
You got it. You're in.
It's like I feel like I've got to now. It's going to be bad luck if I don't.
I understand. That's great. I love it. But tell everybody where they can find you at, and where they can get your wonderful books at, so that everybody.
Sure. BobbyNash.com is the website. There's links to everything. I'm on all the social media. Oh, most of the social media. There's so many of them I can't be on. But I'm on most of them. Ben Book. It's ben-books.com is my indie press. That stuff's on BobbyNash.com too, but the other stuff is there as well. But yeah, I'm all over the place. Books are available at the usual places: Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I sell them direct. People want to buy them from me, I'll sign them and mail them to you.
If you're in the Southeast, you'll see Bobby.
Yeah.
At several things. So.
I do a lot of events. Yeah. But there's ebooks, audiobooks, paperbacks of almost everything's got certainly paperback and ebook. There's hardcovers for some, there's audiobooks for some. Trying to think what else. The latest Snow book just came out 3 weeks ago, Snow Island. Snow goes to Hawaii, and it's because it's that love letter to those 70s and 80s, so they all go to Hawaii at some point. And it's also a backdoor pilot for 2 other characters to maybe get their own book.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then this is Halloween week. The 4th Dante's book, Dante's Rebirth, goes on sale Halloween Day.
Nice. Awesome.
Yes,
Everybody go check that out and get all those wonderful books. And Snow series is wonderful. I can attest to that. I've read a few of them, and they're really great. And everybody, thanks for sticking around. I know right now we have live play going on our channel as well. Right now at Hit the Dice, they're doing another live RPG. So go jump off of here and go check that out. And remember, that's always time to go indie now. We'll see you guys again next week. Bye.